What's up? Okay, Ivan, I sent you an invite.
There
All
you
right. Okay,
go.
we got it now. Appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you taking time to do this.
Oh man, that's no problem. No problem at all. I just got in from the gym.
Okay, so I'm here with Ivan Robinson for everyone's watching, and kind of one of the first things that I wanted to ask you about was, you had a high volume style, and I was always wondering, like, is that something you developed, or did your coach tell you to box that way? I mean, how did it kind of come about?
I guess that's just the high intensity level I used to train. My dad trained me, and that's the way we used to work.
Because not a lot of guys do that. So was it more in your head to do it, or was he telling you maybe throw 100 punches or whatever it was he used to do?
No, he just used to work on me like that, work with me like that. We always do volume punches, of combinations. I guess as I got, well, when you're a kid, when you like, because I started young, I started at 5. Um, Actually, I really can't think back that far, but I'm thinking like when I probably was like 5 or 6. You know how we are. We little kids in the gym, sparring with little kids our age. We just throwing punches just to be throwing punches. And as time went on and I got older, I just always used to just throw punches and combinations. That's how my dad had me, 6, 8 punch combinations. Then as I got older, I got settled with my feet and my legs where it balanced me off to step around and do different things.
Yeah, because there were some guys like that. You, Wayne McCullough, Philip Holiday, who you fought through a lot of, but a lot of guys don't do that. So why do you think you were able to do it? I mean, even today, you don't see guys doing that very much.
Yeah, and I think that a lot of coaches, like, well, in my gym, um, coaches like Bozy, uh, throwback coaches that are still around, still try to emulate to have their fighters throw punches and combinations. But you know how it is nowadays. Guys just want to hit guys with one big shot and think they can get rid of them. Sometimes you can, but it's not. That's like for instance, if you hit a kid with a left hook and you hurt him and you know you hurt him, what you gonna hit him with the left hook and see if he fall? No, I'm gonna try to end it. I'm gonna try to end it with a left hook, a right hand, a uppercut, and then I'm gonna try to step around him and finish it. No, guys hit him with one left hook and think the night is over. It's not like that.
Yeah. So, when I first saw you, obviously was the first Gotti fight. And
Okay.
I saw, him kind of like the banger versus you, just throwing a lot of shots, and when you're fighting that way, did you have like some crazy stamina that allowed you to do that, or
Well,
because going back to what I'm saying, not a lot of guys do it. You had to have a lot of wind to do that, right?
right. Well, I think what it was that I noticed, like in a lot of fighters that I train now, and even some that I don't train, that I do see, their conditioning is poor. I have like for instance, I have a guy now. He tells me he runs 6 or 7 miles a day. All right, if you running 6 or 7 miles a day, there's no reason why after a 4 round sparring session in the gym, you talking about you don't want to go no more. You tired. I mean, that don't even accumulate to the things that you're telling me. That doesn't even make sense. If you're doing 6, 8 miles a day and you can't do a 4 rounder in the gym, something wrong.
How many miles were you running?
I was on, and believe it or not, I know you're gonna say it's crazy. I was only running 5 miles.
So it was just was. Do you think it was the rounds you were doing, or
No,
what
I
else
just
were you
think
doing?
I was just. I think I was just. I don't know. I was just different. I trained hard. I worked hard. Even in the gym, I don't want. Well, you can say that the way that I trained in the gym was the way that I fought. Nothing changed about me. Nothing was no different. The only thing that I say that I wish that I would have had that I think would have really helped me, is that I would have had a little more power. I mean, I had 40, I think it was 46 professional fights and like 80 something amateur fights. So I've been fighting for a long time. And I think my defense was pretty good. I was a kid that didn't like to get hit. As you can see, I did a lot of I gave a lot of angles. I punched in combinations. My defense was pretty good. That's why I think I lasted so long. It's just except for the later years in my career, I took fights that I shouldn't have took because of money situations that I really didn't have to take. But I was the type of kid that and fighter and adult that I felt as though anybody that I got in there with, they had two hands, they had 2 feet, just like I had, and it was an even match. Even if a kid or a guy that I fought had 25 or 30 knockouts, it didn't matter. I still felt as though that I was able to be in the ring with him.
Now, when I know they had mentioned in the lead up to the fight that you and Gotti have both trained at like Pernell Whitaker's training camp, you know.
Right, we did.
So, with your style, a lot of punches. Obviously, it's hard to hit Pernell. Does that kind of
Very hard.
fall out of whack when you're, as far as your style goes?
No, because Pernell was very technical. Pernell was a technician. He was the guy that bought all his tools to work, and you couldn't hit Pernell with a lot of shots. You may, like, for instance, if I hit Pernell with a left hook on the inside, you can best believe I never hit Pernell with that shot again, because Pernell never put himself in a position to get hit like that again. He was very slick. He counterpunched real well, and he was a great boxer. And he was a magician. I mean, he was there, but then again, he wasn't there. When you thought he was in front of you and you released, and I threw volume of punches. I couldn't hit Pernell. I mean, the first 2 days that I sparred Pernell, when I first went to camp with him, I went to the first camp with him when he was getting ready to fight Oscar De La Hoya, and that was the first time ever. And at that time, I think I was in my mid 20s. I would think I was like 24, 25, and I know I was good, but I couldn't really land a punch on Pernell. That's when I knew I was really in the big league. I couldn't hit Pernell, and just what it was. And poor, I don't want to say poor Arturo, but yeah, poor Arturo, because Sweepy just had his way with Gaddy.
Yeah, and I mean, because you like to throw many punches, when you're sparring Pernell, you can't hit him as much. Does it make you revert to just like throwing one shot at a time?
No, I just wasn't accustomed to doing that. I just wasn't accustomed to throwing one shot. I just wasn't. I was accustomed of throwing a lot of shots. And with that being said, with not being able to hit Pernell, Pernell always kept me on my toes. Pernell always kept me thinking, because it was like, yo, should I throw this jab at Pernell, or should I fake and throw a right hand and a left hook? Or if I did throw it, would I hit him and he counter me? Pernell always had you thinking, like, you always had to be a step in front of Pernell, which he was always a step in front of you. It's like when you was thinking about doing something, Pernell already knew what you was getting ready to do.
So how did it affect you going in the fight with both of you being in that camp? What did you take away from
Well,
Gotti? Because you guys didn't spar, right? You and Gotti.
yeah, we actually we never sparred, and I never really paid no attention to Pernell when he sparred Arturo, except for when I first got there, the first camp, when he was getting ready for De La Hoya. I think they sparred every other day. The day that Gaddy didn't spar Pernell, I sparred him. The day I sparred him, Gaddy didn't spar. So it was like the first day I got there when the camp was starting, but it was like already a week in advance. And that day that I got there late because of my plane. Gaddy and Pernell was just getting ready to start sparring, so I seen a little bit of it. but it was really nothing to see because Purnell was just too slick, too fast, too sharp, and Gaddy was just a big one puncher. Um, he was trying to land everything he could, and Purnell was just making him look bad. At that time, I never really thought about fighting Gaddy. I don't know if main events ever thought that was something that they was gonna make down the line. Me and Gaddy, we just we talked to each other. We went out a couple times. But at that time, that camp was in Virginia, in Purnell's hometown. And Purnell was like God. I mean, I'll never forget it. The day that Purnell and Gaddy sparred, me and Gaddy went out that night. And we went shopping. And evidently Purnell knew where we was going to go shopping. And me and Gaddy bought us. We bought about, between the both of us, I think me and Gaddy spent like $300 in clothes. But we was going to pay the guy, but the guy was like, your money is not good down here. We was like, what you mean? He was like, man, everything is on Purnell. Whatever you want, we build Purnell. I mean, that's the type of relationship I guess Purnell had in the city of Virginia.
Yeah, and you got to wonder, like, because what you're saying, how was it? Why would Purnell bring in someone like Gotti to kind of prepare for De La Hoya? What do you think was beneficial for him in that area?
I think what was beneficial for him was that Gaddy stood in front of him, and he knew, and I think Purnell knew that somewhere along the line he was going to have to trade with Oscar. And at that time, Gaddy was probably the biggest puncher in a 135, 140 to maybe 147. You know what I'm saying? It depends on who Gaddy would have fought at 47, who you would have been looking at, because Gaddy could really punch, and he was a 35-pounder. Well, in camp he was about a 47-pounder. But and I think that the dude was thought that with Gaddy being in front of him and sitting in front of him and throwing punches and stuff, that's what Purnell needed to have in front of him to face him when it came to him sitting there taking punishment. As far as me, I was pretty much of a boxer with quick hands, and Oscar was pretty quick, but he was definitely a power puncher. But he threw good combinations, and I think that's what they used me for. Because, like I said, I was in the point of throwing 6, 8 punch combinations, and if I couldn't hit Purnell, I knew De La Hoya couldn't hit him. And even though we was around the same age, maybe I was a year or two older than De La Hoya, and we had fought in the amateurs. So I guess they figured if Oscar went to speed, how would that help Purnell? And it helped him. You've seen in some of the De La Hoya Purnell Whitaker fight, you seen De La Hoya try to throw combinations at him, and Purnell slipped all that. I mean, Purnell slipped every shot that Gaddy threw. So, Purnell was just unique, man. Purnell was just a different fighter. He was there before he was that guy that everybody wanted to be. And, I loved him, man. He was a great guy, great human being, give you a shirt off his back. He was just a good guy. And I'm glad that I had the opportunity to really meet him and be around him before, he left us.
Now, looking back on that fight, De La Hoya and Whitaker, having been one of the guys that trained with him, what did you think about the fight? I mean, a lot of people thought, Whitaker beat De La Hoya.
Purnell won.
Yeah.
I thought Purnell won too. Purnell thought he won, but I think going into the fight, Purnell was pretty much thinking about landing some big shots on Gaddy. I mean, some big shots on De La Hoya and really slowing him down in the later rounds to where, his experience would help him and that he would, basically overcome the bombards that De La Hoya would try to bring on him. But what I think was, even though they fought at 47, I think De La Hoya, I think that I think that Oscar was just a bigger guy, man. He just posed a bigger size when it came to Purnell, and I think that Purnell was a small guy, even though he was a 47-pounder. Purnell was small, and I think that over the time of the rounds, I think the accumulation of punches kind of slowed Purnell down because you've seen in the later rounds, Purnell got real flat-footed, real flat-footed. And I think some of them shots took a lot out of Purnell.
Now, take me through a little bit when you fought Philip Holiday, because that's kind of the fight they talked about, in this, when you guys were coming out to the ring, and
Well, it's kind of vague. I can't remember the walkout to the ring, but honestly, my camp was an okay camp, but then again, it wasn't a good camp. I had just went through a whole, and nobody really knows this, but my camp. My dad was with me my whole professional career until the Philip Holiday fight. I think, I hate to say it, but I fired my dad like maybe 2.5, 3 weeks before the fight. And they say when you do something bad, they say karma comes back on you. And I think that whole camp leading to that was just a bombard of a messed up situation. Because actually, I was in camp with David Tour. I went to camp with David Tour down in Virginia. Purnell wasn't training at the time. It was me, David Tour, Robbie Pender from Australia, that me and him had a real great relationship. And the dude signed him. I didn't know they signed him. We was down there in camp with him, and we was also in camp with Junior Jones, because Junior Jones fought Marco Antonio Barrera. And they wanted me to come to camp because I was with Main Events. They told me to come to camp down in Virginia, and we was going to be in camp for 2 weeks. Before the camp, I had opened camp in Philly. The second week of camp in Philly, me and my dad had a little squabble, and I didn't like what was going on, so I fired him. And I think that's when things kind of went rock bottom for me, because my dad was with me I think when I fought Philip Holiday, I think I was like 20-0, somewhere around there, because we had just fought before that, I think a month before that or 2 months before that, we had just fought Emmanuel Augustus. And honestly, Emmanuel Augustus was my hardest fight ever. I mean, we called him the drunken master. I mean, I hit this kid with everything. He was still there. And what made me mad, when you hit a guy, especially me, when I hit a guy with a combination and he stick his tongue out at me after I hit him and do a dance, that really pisses you off. And Augustus was that dude. I had my dad with me, and I'll never forget it. I went back to the corner, and when I went and sat down in the corner, my dad got in the ring and he smacked me. He was like, "What the hell are you doing?" I was like, "What you talking about?" He was like, "You sitting here just laying back, letting this guy do anything." He was like, "Go out there, put your combinations together, and do what you're supposed to do. Get rid of this kid." Well, we wasn't getting rid of Emmanuel Augustus, but we did rock him. We did have him on Queer Street. We did beat him up, and that was a USA fight. And USA was saying that I was starting to pick it up. I was looking like the Ivan Robinson that I needed to look like. That was catapulting me until my date with Philip Holiday. So, we won the fight, went back home. My dad, me and my dad, we went through it. I wasn't living with my dad. I was living in Jersey. I was married. And I went to camp. I think this, like 2 weeks later, we went to camp. We was training and everything. And me and my dad got into a squabble. And I was really upset and mad. I can't remember what it was about or for, but I was really mad and upset. And my dad and my ex-wife didn't really have great words. They wasn't really liking each other. And at that time, my fiance at the time, my wife, she was pregnant with my daughter. And I really got fed up and I was mad. And I fired my dad. And I went to camp down in Virginia with David Tour and them. I went down there the first week by myself. My assistant trainer, Odell Cathay, rest in peace, he was coming down the following week. Now, he was supposed to be my head trainer leading into the Philip Holiday fight. But what happened, I didn't have a lead coach, which he should have been my lead coach, but he wasn't. He was placed as my second. Junior Jones was in camp with us, and Junior was looking good. Junior left to go. I think they fought in Vegas. He fought Antonio Barrera. He wasn't supposed to win, but Junior Jones went out there and looked magnificent. He had Tommy Brooks in his corner. So I guess main events looked at it like, I'm a kid on the rise. They felt good about it. I felt good about it. Even though I had just got rid of my dad, I still felt as though I was going to go out there and beat Philip Holiday. They brought Tommy Brooks in, and they made Tommy Brooks my head coach over top of my other coach. At that time, I thought main events had my best interest by bringing Tommy Brooks in. But leading up to the fight and in the fight, Tommy Brooks didn't give me the right advice that he should have gave me to get ready for Philip Holiday. I didn't see Tommy Brooks giving me the right instructions and during the fight to capitalize on what I needed to do to win the fight. Basically, really after like the third round, honestly, everything that I did in that fight came off of pure skill, because I felt as though that I was the better fighter. Anybody that knows me and knew of me and knew what I was capable of doing could see that anything and everything that I was doing in the fight came off of pure experience, off of what I knew how to do and what was good. The only thing that I think that was probably a little shady in the fight was that I found out before the fight, which I really didn't care. They was telling me that Philip Holiday used to run marathons, and that was one of his assets to his career because he had longevity. And I think that's what kind of bolted in both fight. And both of us fighting. We both had high volume of punches. We both were able to absorb punches. Even though I think my defense was better, I didn't use it as much as I should have and as well as I should have after I looked at the fight. And anybody that know me just knew that I could have did a lot more things better in that fight that I didn't do. And I think it was because of the fact that I didn't have my dad.
And you just mentioned about absorbing punches, and do you think that the conditioning is why people are able to absorb punches more, or is
Yeah,
it like
definitely.
God-given?
It's your shape. It's your cardio. It's what you. Some of it has to do with how they say it, your adrenaline, because your adrenaline is so high with you going into the fight. Like for instance, I don't want to jump this far, but for instance, like the second Getty fight. The second Getty fight, I think I absorbed more punches below the belt than I did in the first fight, because after the second fight, when the fight was over, I kept complaining about being hit low. And you don't know me, but anybody that know a Philly fighter knows that we fighters don't cry about nothing. And Gaddy hit me a lot low in the second fight. He hit me so much low that I complained at the end of the fight how my legs were hurting, how my hips was hurting. So with my dad with Bowie Fisher and Odell Cathay, what they did, and Leon Taz, what they did, I don't know where they got it from, but they got like 3 bags of ice and put it in a tub and ran water. And when I took my cup off and my shorts, my hips were swollen. So what they told me to do, they told me to sit in the ice to knock the swelling down. But what happened when I got in the tub of water, it was so cold, I guess it must have made my body must have relaxed. And when I relaxed, I urinated in the tub with the ice, and I urinated a whole bunch of blood. So I blended out blood the whole time that I sat in the ice water. And that was because of the punches that I absorbed from the Getty fight. So, sometimes we guys, we get hit upside the head and we get hurt, or sometimes we get hit with a good shot and we may get dazed, but we'll come back But like I said, with our adrenaline so running so high, sometimes them shots don't take an effect until after you lay in the bed and go to sleep. You wake up the next morning and you find out that your head is pounding and you wondering why your damn head pounding. That comes from the shot you got hit with. Like I don't mind telling people things about like my fighters. I don't mind talking to them and telling them about certain fights that I've been in. Like I tell you and I tell the audience, it's be times I'll be sitting in my living room watching TV. Swear to God, I'll be sitting here watching TV, looking at TV, and out of nowhere, I'll get a flashback of getting hit with that left hook and that 10th round that I got hit with by Gaddy, and it just throws me for a loop.
Mm.
Things like that happens. But those are the trials and tribulations that you go through in your career as being a fighter. It's just that I'm glad that I never been in a fight where that I've been knocked out unconscious or nothing like that. I pray to God and thank God that He always kept me safe, able to talk to people like you and other announcers, sports writers, friends, family, whoever. So I would say that I'm one of the blessed ones.
You mentioned about how your management company kind of assigned you a trainer. You know, is it kind of like, is it irritating where you don't have control after a while? They're kind of,
Well, yeah. Well, when I say it like this, I always say I'm cut from a different breed. My management team, which was really Eddie Woods and Kathy Nicolosi, my promotional company was Main Events. I think my manager Eddie Woods and Kathy Nicolosi and my dad. I got to definitely bring my dad in, even though later in my career he wasn't with me, and I still say if he was with me from the time that I fought Philip Holiday, I'd have been champion, and I think I still would have been champion because everything that I've done before the Philip Holiday fight and so on, my dad was the one who invested in doing everything he did for me to get me to being the great fighter that I was. But I think that my manager Eddie Woods and my co-manager Kathy Nicolosi, I think they've done a great job with me because they kept me out of the loop as far as um, conversing with the promoters and the promoters stealing money from me. And I never had to worry about anything. Like for instance, when I fought Gaddy the second time, although I know we're not talking about that yet, and I know you're gonna get to it, but when we fought Gaddy the second time, HBO, which was Larry Merchant, uh, uh, Lou DiBello, uh,
Jim Lamp.
Gary Shaw, all
Jim.
those guys. Yeah, and Jim Lamp.
Yeah.
All those guys, I swear to God, I hadn't even fought Gaddy probably or got out the ring with Gaddy like 10 minutes before they were talking about a second Gaddy fight. I wasn't even thinking about a second Gaddy fight. All I was thinking about doing was going home and resting. I mean, Jim Lampley, Larry Merchant, Lou DiBella, Main Events, Gary Shaw, they was already talking about a rematch. I'm like, a rematch. I'm saying to myself, why would I want to fight this guy again after I just fought a 10 grueling hard fight with this guy? I don't want to fight this guy again. My thing was I was thinking about a Shane Mosley or a title fight. I only had two losses. You know what I'm saying? I had just lost to Philip Holiday before that, even though I had lost to Israel Cardona before that. But that was like that fight with Israel Cardona. I wasn't in shape. I wasn't thinking about nothing. I had just came off a loss with Philip Holiday, so I was still kind of shell shocked. So my thing was after beating Gaddy, that was the highlight of my career. I wanted to think about something else, but HBO, Jim Lampley, and all those guys, they wouldn't let me sleep. They rung my phone and bothered me, but like I said, I gotta give Kathy Nicolosi and Eddie Woods all the credit in the world because they kept me away from that. They did all the negotiation. They made sure that they was the ones that they talked to, and they made a great investment in that fight, which I had to fight him again. Well, I didn't have to fight him again. They just made it to my wow that we fought again, and I'm glad that it happened because it definitely put me in a position where I had to show the world what I was able to do and what I was capable of doing, which people who already knew me knew what I was capable of doing, but I had to prove it to the world.
Yeah, the fight with Gaddy. I mean, you were saying I was going to get to it. I was kind of really focusing on you more, but
Oh, okay.
you know, could if that happened today with social media and everything, everyone would have been all over that, like contacting each other, asking if they're watching this. So I could see why they'd want to see it again because everyone was off the high of watching. When I watched it, like I couldn't believe it.
And the crazy part is when I turned professional in '92, I started off. I went off. Of course, I went to 20-0 before I got my first loss. Um, by the time I got I think 6 or 7 fights, I had said to myself, I didn't know, and I'm not a psychic. I'm not a person that sit around and try to think what's going to happen 10 years from now or nothing like that. But I had said to myself, I said, I don't care what I do in my career. All I want to do is the fans to be pleased on what it is that I do and understand that I work hard to do what I do and to get where I want to go and to be in a position where one day people can say, you know what, Ivan, you fought a great fight. I want to thank you for fighting and giving us a scare or me falling out the chair or whatever. And whoever would have thought that it would have been the Gaddy fight. And going into the Gaddy fight, I never said, "Oh, I'm gonna go out here and I'm gonna fight this guy, man, and we gonna put on a spectacle." I never thought of that. My whole thing was leading up to the Gaddy first fight when we met in New York for the press conference. I'll never forget it. My best friend, my right hand man, Rennie Carter, was with me when we went there, and you know, it was like they had both of us on the podium. Of course, they had me go first. Then they had Gaddy go second. They asked me what about the fight. I told them I was just like, it's a great fight. Me and Gaddy been in camp 2 or 3 times. We never sparred each other. I never thought that we would fight. And I'm looking forward to going out here and winning. That's all I said. I didn't belittle the man. I didn't talk nasty to him. I never talked nasty to the sports writers or nothing about him. So it was his turn. He turned to everybody and was like, they got him. They want me to fight him. I'm going to knock him out. I punched too hard. Then this is what really had me kind of like puzzled. I didn't understand. I had to ask my best friend. He got up on the podium and he said, "Well, I bring the guns to the fight, and he don't do nothing but bring knives." So I'm sitting there looking at him like, "Huh?" I'm like, all right. So then afterwards, we took pictures. We shook hands because we were friends. But my thing was we had to go in there and fight, and it was about me making a mark in the fight. And I already knew that the only way Gaddy was going to win this fight was that he was going to have to knock me out or kill me. And one of two things, he was going to have to pretty much not catch me, but have to catch me to land a shot to knock me out because I knew I was the better boxer. I knew I had the better skills. I knew I could make him miss. One thing that I did want to do in the fight, that I did do in the fight, was that I wanted to give him more angles. I wanted to hit him from different angles. I wanted him to be trying to stalk me to catch me to land a shot. So when he tried to deliver, I would, of course, like you said, I was a guy with volume of punches. I was gonna hit this guy like 67 times before he even landed one. But going back to that, he had said, "How do a guy expect to win a fight if he gonna bring knives to a gunfight? So I'm sitting here like, all right, I ain't paying no attention. So on my way back to Philly, because I came from Philly, and my manager had got us a limo for me and my partner, my buddy, and my managers to go out there. So on the way back, I asked my man Rennie. I said, Rennie, I said, what the guy mean about bringing knives to a gunfight? He was like, man, how stupid can you be? I'm like, yo, what are you talking about? He was like, man, you can't punch. He said, the only thing you gonna do is cut him up. I remember that, and that stayed in my head the whole time in camp. But in camp, my trainers, which was Odell Cathay and Bowie Fisher, I had bought Bowie Fisher in after the Philip Holiday fight, because Bowie Fisher trained Bernard Hopkins, and I wanted somebody that I could trust, and I knew that would have my back in the fight. So we bought Bowie Fisher. So when we went back to training in Philly, because we stayed in Philly, we ain't going nowhere else. We opened up camp in Philly, and it was great. I had Mike Melvin and Anthony Thompson as my sparring partners. So the whole time we in camp, we did do nothing but box, 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 give angles, box, 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 combination, volume of punches, head movement, giving angles, working on angles. I think I worked on angles for about 2 weeks straight before I even start boxing. That was the whole plan in the fight. For the fight. Box, box, box. So the night of the fight, we gets in the dressing room. I'm kind of nervous because what happened was the night before the fight, my manager came in the room and he bought a back then was the VCRs. He bought the VCR tape in and he stuck it inside the VCR, and he told me to watch the Gabriel Ruelas Arturo Gatti fight. And I seen it, and I could see how Gatti was punishing Gabriel Ruelas with these body shots. How he was just, breaking him down. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, damn, a guy can't really punch that hard. And then when I said that, he turned around and turned the left hook over on Gabriel, lights out. I was like, yo, I'm actually going to fight this guy tomorrow. So, like 2 hours before the actual fight, we all in the dressing room getting warmed up and everything. Every fight before we go out to the arena to fight, my team always have a prayer. So we had a prayer. Normally my team walks out first and I walks out in the middle. So we had our prayer. I finished warming up. The inspector came back and was like, we get ready to walk out in 2 minutes. So I'm like, all right. We had our prayer, said what we had to say. Everybody asked, was I ready? I was like, yeah. So I said to myself, everybody come back here. Everybody came back to the center. We all got in the center. I said to my whole team, honest to God, I said, you know what? I said, this guy going to have to knock me out tonight because I'm going to fight this guy. They was like, no, would you just box, you do what you. I said, no, man. I said, in order for this guy to win tonight, he going to have to kill me. And I shot straight out to the ring, ran out to the ring. And they was like, yo, what you doing? I was like, man, this guy going to have to kill me tonight. So we gets out to the ring. We gets out to the corner. And they came to me and they was like, hey, what you going to do? I said, man, I'm going to stand toe-to-toe with this guy. He was like, no, you box this guy. You box. I said, man, I'm standing toe-to-toe. And the reason I think I did that was because that fight I knew was going to be my fight where I was going to be able to start making big money, was going to put me to the point as an elite fighter, which a lot of people already knew that I was that elite fighter, but they needed to see me fight somebody to get there. And Main Events picked me to fight Gatti because Gatti had just got beat by Angel Man Freddy. And they wanted an easy fight for Angel Man Freddy. And they said that I couldn't punch. And they said I was too dumb enough to box him, that I was going to sit there and he was going to knock me out in 4 rounds. So I felt that was a smack in the face. I felt that was a disrespect. So I said to myself and to my team, like, yo, we got to change our game plan. we definitely gonna fight. So my coach, Bowie Fisher, who was my second, Odell was always gonna be my first, except for the Philip Holiday fight when they brought Tommy Brooks in. Um, Bowie Fisher wanted me to, of course, because Bowie Fisher was an old time veteran fighter that worked with Bernard, and he had Bernard on his A game. Me and Bernard was two different fighters, though. But my thing was, Mr. Bowie Fisher worked with me on my turns. He kept telling me to turn, and he was that type of guy. He wanted me to turn, and he wanted me to get back to the center of the ring and use my jab. Of course, angles was nothing new because my dad worked with me on angles my whole career. My dad invested angles in me, so that wasn't a problem. And my coach, Odell Cathay, wanted me to keep my volume punching high, but he also wanted me to keep my defense tight too. So, one thing that I liked about my corner, and that goes back to my dad. Like I said, my dad was with me my whole life, and Odell Cathay was with me from like 84 or 85, somewhere around there. Odell was part of my team from that time to my whole professional career. I never got rid of Odell because I feel as though loyalty in boxing isn't something that is in boxing. I think if you have a trainer that's in your corner and he riding with you from day one, why would you not keep him with you? I understand that we have great Eddie Futch and my man Barry Hunter and Kevin Cunningham, all those type guys. They great trainers. I take nothing away from them. I know all three of them. They very great trainers, and I feel as though I'm a great one too. But my thing is, why not stay with who got you to where you at? I know sometimes to some point that you feel as though your trainer can't take you to the next level. But my thing is this: why not keep him with you and have an addition added on to what you can do? It's just like when you buy a car. You know what I'm saying? Like race car drivers. They always add stuff onto their cars to make it go faster, right? So why not bring in an experienced trainer with you to help you do the things that you need to do? So that's just what it was. And we went out there and my team worked great. I can laugh about it now because I've seen it recently. I don't watch the Gaddy fight a lot, but I see and hear that a lot of people watch it. And I'm glad that, I get that love like that. Rest in peace, Arturo. Because if it wasn't Arturo, Gaddy thinking that he could beat me and taking me, I probably would have never got the chance to be exploited to the world like I did. You know, my corner helped me. For instance, my dad would work on one thing. My dad worked on volume. My dad worked on defense. Odell worked on offense. So, I had two great cornermen that worked on two different things in my camp. So they blended together, they worked together, and they invested in me to put what I needed into that fight with Arturo Gatti, and it was a great fight.
Yeah, how did you feel about as it's going on, as the fight is happening? Do you feel that? I mean, do you feel that in the crowd this is a pretty crazy fight, or are you just not oblivious to all that?
I think I only got excited one time, and if you look at the fight, I think that was the first round.
Yeah, you kind of.
Yeah, exactly. Look, you know the fight real well, don't you?
Yeah.
I threw 112 punches in that fight in that first round. Um, that wasn't something that was script, wasn't something that was written. It was just that, to be honest with you, Arturo Gatti could be hit. And like I said, in the fight, and you can hear it on TV when Larry Mercer said it, I didn't have to look for Gatti. All I had to do was just know how and when to put my paws on him, because he wasn't anything special. I mean, I loved him as a friend and as a fighter, but he wasn't nobody that really stuck out to you. because any great fighter, any great boxer that could box would be able to outbox him, would it be able to outpunch him. But the thing is, when Arturo loaded up and he let loose, the thing was the opponent that was fighting, could they withstand his power? Because believe it or not, I fought Gaddy at 135. I came in at 133 and a half. And after the weigh-in, I think I came in at like 140. I think Gaddy came in like 150 something or 140, something like that. I know he had an eight pound weight advantage on me. Not saying that was for anything or worried about anything, because as you see, as the fight went on, I sat right in front of him and I took shots that I shouldn't have never took. But like I said, that first fight was a respect fight, because I know Wolf Tickets sell tickets, but Arturo Gatti was so confident. It didn't matter. Like, I seen him like a month before he fought Mayweather. And it was just like, he said to me, he was like, Ivan, I know this is a tough fight, but he like, I'm going to shock the world. And I'm saying to myself, like, Gaddy, are you serious? You think you're going to beat Mayweather? I mean, Mayweather is either one or two things. He going to have to be drunk, or he going to have to forget for you to catch him. I knew Mayweather wasn't going to let him hit him. He was not going to let him. It didn't matter what it was going to take, but Mayweather was not going to let Gaddy hit him. And he didn't. He kept him on the outside. He pummeled him. He just hit him with so many punches. And it was just crazy, So Arturo, I take nothing away from him. He was a great fighter. I loved him, man. He was very exciting. And in that era, which was my era, that's what fans wanted to see. They wanted to see a guy like Gaddy get pummeled, but then come back and end the fight, just like a baseball game. You messing around and you in the World Series and you up 3-2, but Barry Bonds getting ready to come up, and if you throw that joker a fastball and he hit it, it's gone. That's what people wanted to see. They wanted to see that shit. They wanted to see that fastball thrown, and they wanted to see if Barry Bonds was going to knock it over the gate. They wanted Gaddy to hit me with that big shot, which he did, but it didn't do anything.
Yeah, I was on a submarine in when I was in the military, I was on submarines, and my dad used to send me VHS tapes because he would tape the HBO fights for me. And yeah, we'd watch them down there, and guys kept like when I was sleeping, guys would come to my rack and say, "Hey, you got the Gotti Robinson fight? We want to watch it again." Guys are watching that. Yeah, they watched it all the time. So I've seen it tons of times.
Wow.
By myself, with on the submarine, just all kinds of times I've seen it. Yeah.
Wow, I appreciate that. I mean, that, like I said, somewhere in a fighter's career, even if you can get the best of them, some of them probably gonna say no. Some of them probably gonna say yeah, but I'm gonna be the one to say yeah. That I'm actually overwhelmed, to the point that I love the fact that I can get gentlemen like you, people across the world. I done had people from overseas inbox me, text me, and tell me how great that they, love the Gaddy Robinson fights, both 1 and 2. Just like I'm proud to say that I love to see the Joe Frazier 1, 2, and 3. I mean, it was even to the point that my team, not my team that trained me, but I'm saying like my team, like my family, well, not my family members, people outside my family members said, "Well, Ivan, why didn't you lose the second fight so it could have been the third fight?" And I tell them, like, when you get in a position to do things like that, you're not thinking about what if, you're thinking about right now. And my thing was, I had God brought to my table Robinson Gaddy 2. It wasn't in the script to be Robinson Gaddy 3, because if it was, it would have happened. And God forbid, my thing at that time was about Gaddy was the hottest guy in the world. I don't care. And anyway, he was the hottest guy in the world. My thing was I was making the biggest money of my career. Why wouldn't I fight him a second time? I'm not trying to lose to this man, not once, not twice, not three times, not never. I'm trying to win both times. So that's what it was. I went out there, and the second fight, I say is the second fight that I fought should have been the first fight that I should have fought. But what if I would have fought the second fight the way I fought? What if I would have fought the first fight the way I fought the second fight? It might not have been a second fight.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, God working mysterious ways. I want to thank HBO for bringing it to me a second time. Rest in peace, Sir Charles. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, because no one knows that at that time, regardless of what you want to say or how you want to say it, nobody really ever, I ain't going to say ever, but nobody really wanted to give me a shot at nothing. Even after I lost to Philip Holiday, nobody wanted to give me a shot. Philip Holiday what happened before me and Philip Holiday fought, people thought that Shane Mosley was going to win the IBF title. And they was talking about a Robinson Mosley fight. But for some reason, Philip Holiday jumped in. I don't know how that happened. He won the title. I was number one. So it was no way, no ifs, no hows. Back then, I didn't hear about getting step aside money. It was like, you're number one, the champion got to fight you. So I was good with that, and I was ready for that. So I took that fight. Even though I thought I won, I didn't get it. Shane Mosley fought him and beat him. I think I was like number 4 or number 5 in the world. I asked for the Shane Mosley fight. Shane Mosley didn't want the fight. I think maybe like a year later, after Shane had defended the title maybe once or twice, he came to Philly to fight. And this was prior to the Gaddy fight. Shane was on his way to Philly to fight. He was coming to a press conference. I had just fought a month before that in Philly at the Armory, but I suffered a cut. And I was in the gym training, and my manager was trying to get me a fight. So Shane Mosley came to Philly to fight, but he came to a press conference. And I think I was in the gym training, and my manager came in the gym and was like, Ivan. I said, yeah. He was like, your teammate here. I was like, who? He was like, Shane Mosley. I was like, well, what's Shane doing in Philly? He was like, Shane coming to Philly because he got a date. Can't remember who the promoter was, but they had brought Shane to Philly to fight. And Shane was going to fight somebody from somewhere to defend his title. So when they told me about it, I left training camp, well, not training camp, but training that day to go down to the Spectrum to convince, well, not convince, but to go to Shane Mosley and try to get the fight. The stadium was packed. Shane was getting ready to fight. Shane was getting ready to go on the podium to talk about getting an opponent, this, that, and that. I went down there, went to the weigh-in, stepped in front of the weigh-in, stepped in front of the podium to his press conference and was like, Shane, how you gonna come to Philly and I fight a guy from Philly right in my hometown? At that time I had 2 losses. Shane had no losses. At that time, Shane was the best lightweight, and he was. Shane was the best lightweight in the world. Like I said, I think I was like number 4 or 5 by the WBC. I think I was 3 by the IBF, and I was rated somewhere by the WBA, which at that time was the Japanese champion. So I went down there with my buddy, and me and Shane almost got into a fist fight down there, because I'm saying to Shane, like, yo, you coming into Philly, you talking about bringing somebody in to fight, and you got a guy right here in the city of Philly that you can fight, that has a big draw. So, me and him went back to back. We had words, we almost fought, whatever. So the promoter made the fight. I'll never forget it. When I went back home that night after the big brawl down at the casino and everything, I must have had about 40 calls. Like, yo, we want to see this fight. You and Shane, we want to. And I was already in camp training because I was bugging my manager to get me a fight. So me and Shane made the fight. We was gonna fight. I go into camp. Remember now, I had just fought a month before that, and I had a cut over my eye. My cut man told me to put butterflies over it, and the cut was healed up. It wasn't a big cut. It was just a nice little gash. And I was gonna go into the Shane Mosley fight with that cut. So what happened? They ordered me some type of headgear, but it was a mask with a bar across the front. I hated that headgear. I hated it. What happened was I had the butterfly stitches over my eye, and I had the headgear. I was using the headgear. The headgear rubbed the butterfly stitches off, and it opened up the cut. They was like, I went to the doctor, to the eye doctor, to get it looked at, and they told me I couldn't fight. Man, when I announced that I couldn't fight, man, every ticket that was sold for me and him was returned. And the promoters were hot, but I couldn't fight. He messed around and fought somebody. I can't remember who he fought, but he stopped him in the 5th round. And Shane didn't want to fight because we tried to make a later date for the fight. And I think they were trying to make it in Vegas instead of Philly. And I was kind of mad because I wanted it in Philly, but they wanted it in Vegas, and they wanted the champion to have the rights to where he wanted to fight. And Shane picked Vegas, which was cool, but I was gonna be out a while, and that fight wasn't gonna happen. Shane said he didn't want to fight, so now I'm in the gym training, thinking, trying to think of a fight to have. And like I said, I think like maybe a month before that, Gaddy and Manfredi fought, and Manfredi stopped Gaddy. And my manager was trying to get a fight, and there was nothing on the table for us. We couldn't get a fight, and I'm sitting in the house. I'm mad. I'm getting disgusted. I'm upset because I couldn't get a fight or nothing like that. So my phone rings. I'm sitting in the living room. Back then, you had the phones with the caller ID on it, and it was my manager. So I picked up the phone. I'm like, "What's up, Ed?" He was like, I think I got something on the table for you." I'm like, "What you talking about?" He's like, I think I got a contract coming through for you with a fight." I said, "Well, and back then, well, not really back then. I was the type of fighter. I didn't care if you telling me I was fighting Smoke Blow. It didn't matter to me. I fought him. It didn't care. I didn't care if the Joker was 30-0 or 30 knockouts. I fought him." So he said to me, he said, "Well, it's coming from main events." I said, "Well, who are they talking?" He was like, "I'm not sure. Give me an hour. I'll call you back." So, I sat in the house waiting for him. I had my son and my daughter. My son was the youngest at the time, Lil Mighty Jr. We in the house playing this, that, and that. So the phone rang. So at the time I was married, my wife was like, "It's Eddie." So I pick up the phone. So I'm like, "What's up, Ed?" He was like, I got your opponent." I said, "You got my opponent?" He was like, "Well, not really." He was like, You're the opponent." I was like, "I'm the opponent." I was like, "I thought this was the main events card." He was like, "Yeah, but it's a double co-promotion." I said, "What you mean?" He was like, "You're their fighter, and the person that they want you to fight is their fighter." So I'm sitting there like, all right, and I want to fight because I've been in the gym, and the cut ain't that is okay, but it's gonna be okay because my dad had the doctors tell me that they was gonna sew the cut on inside and out, so I was gonna get a double stitch. So he said, "I got who they want you to fight." So I'm like, "Well, who?" He like, I said, "I can't hear you." He like, I said, "Who?" He said, "Arturo Gatti." I said, "Okay, no problem." I said, "When we got signed a contract?" He said, "They sent it over to me." So I said, "Okay." So I hung up the phone. So my wife was in the kitchen. I go to the kitchen. She like, "That was Eddie. They got to fight for you?" I'm like, "Yeah." She like, "Who you fighting?" I said, "Arturo Gatti." She like, who? I said, Arturo Gatti. She like, no, not Gatti. I thought about it. I'm like, did I just say I was gonna fight Arturo Gatti? So I called him back. I'm like, yo, did you say Arturo Thunder Gatti? He like, yeah. I'm like, yo, are you serious? He like, yeah. So I'm like, all right, cool. Contract came over. I signed that contract with the quickness, sent it back. The next day I was in the gym training. I don't know how, but you know, the world talks. By the time I got, because I used to train at night. I train at 6. So we got in the gym early that night. At least we didn't start training till 6, but I went early. I got in the gym at 4. By the time I got to the gym, everybody and their mom knew I was fighting. They was like, yo, man, that is a great fight. But yo, man, you had to be in tip top shape. I said, what makes you think I'm not? I said, I'm gonna beat this kid. Man, that I don't know what it was, but that fight grew so much attention across the world. And just in the city of Philly, it was crazy, man. It was like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl. That's what it was like, man. It was like, first of all, a lot of people was glad that I had that fight because a lot of people wanted to actually really see me display my talent. Second of all, nobody really thought I was gonna win. My management team, I say it to this point, and most of my management team resting right, God resting soul with these guys. Most of them are dead. The only ones that ain't dead is my dad and my ex manager. But I believe that even my team didn't think I was gonna win this fight. But I knew in my heart that I was gonna win this fight, and I was gonna do whatever it took for me to be in tip top shape for this fight. And I mean, when I say T, when I went into camp, I mean I went into camp. I moved out my house. Well, I didn't really move out my house, but I left my house. I went to camp. I stayed in camp for 8 weeks. My right hand man, Rennie Carter, he stayed with me. He worked at McGee Rehabilitation Center downtown. That joker used to go, and we both were married. And the thing about it, we was married to sisters. Um, he used to go to work, and from work he used to come to the gym. I mean, he used to come to the gym, and then he used to come back to camp with me and stay with me. We had a 2-bedroom apartment. I had a room, he had a room. He watched over me. He made sure that I got up and ran before he went to work. I lived in Jersey, but I moved to Philly to train. My manager lived around the corner from me in Pennsauken. He used to come, I mean, in Delran. He used to come from Delran all the way to Philly to pick me up and take me all the way back over to Camden to do my 5-mile run over a park called Cooper River. We ran that river for, I'm gonna say, about 6 weeks. Um, I stayed away from my family for 6 weeks. I didn't see my daughter and my son. Um, from the gym, I went home. I stayed in the house. I watched TV. I played video games. I thought nothing but boxing. I slept. I ate boxing. I trained. I ran. I did all the necessary things that I needed to do to win this fight against Arturo Gatti, and it lived up to his expectations. I trained hard. I put in 2-3 hours a day in the gym. I had a conditioning coach who trained me for half an hour. He used to beat the mess out of me to the body with the medicine ball and my sticks that I got that I do with my fighters now. Man, I was in great shape. And I went out there and I proved to the world that, and I think to some of the fighters that if you put your mind to whatever it is you want to do, not just boxing, but anything in general. If you want to be a doctor, if you're going to go to school to study to be a doctor, if you're going to study the book that you need to study to know how to make medicine, what type of medicine you need to take when you're sick, you put your heart and your mind to it and you go do it, there's nothing you can't do. And I think that I proved that. And it worked out for me. And I'm glad that you and everybody in the world got to see me display my talent.
I want to talk a little bit about, your training fighters now. So kind of tell me a little bit about your gym and, you know,
Well, I train at the Kingdom Boxing Fitness Gym. Is in Philly. Is on Grissom 4434 Grissom Street. I got my old training uh teammate with me, Derek Burney. We train, man. We there from 8 in the morning to practically right before I get to you, 9 o'clock at night. Um, we have all types of fighters that come through. We train them. We get them in good shape. I have a kid right now by the name of Not Fair Charles. He's the ABF lightweight champion. He's 8-0 with 7 knockouts. No more 8-0, one draw. He has 7 knockouts. We fight in December the 11th here in Philly at the 2300 Arena. Um, he's a good kid, uh, great talent. Hopefully you'll see him down the line. Um, his advisor right now is Rick Ross. Um, and I just, try to give him the right advice, the right tutelage. He listens. He's well trained by me, his father, Chris Casey. He got a great conditioning coach named Wendell Chavez. And we in the gym every day working and trying to get better.
now when you train these guys, can you instill in them to do like the combination fighting that you would do, or
I try,
no?
but I try, T, but this this I don't want to say this millennium, but this patch of fighters nowadays, this era is totally different from my era. Uh, you can only the old saying is you can only lead the horse to the water, but he got to be the one to drink it. Same way with the fighters, you can only give them what you can give them, but it's up to them to go out there and use it. So my thing is, I ain't trying to change no fighters' style. I'm not trying to have them emulate me. Um, yeah, I might try to give them some punches. I'm definitely a coach where I don't like to get hit. I never like to get hit. So with me, it's about your defense, it's about your balance, and it's about you hitting them and not getting hit. Um, yes, I teach angles. I'm always teaching angles. Um, how not to be on the line, moving your head, and all those things. But these fighters, some of them get it, some of them don't. I just try to help who I can help, do what they can do to make them better. And I like the fact that some of them think of me as a great trainer. Some of them emulate me. Some of them think I'm the greatest thing since, like my old man just say, cream cheese. And then there's still some out there that I have to really let them know that I'm capable of doing the things that they want to do or investing in them and teaching them the things that they need to know. Ain't nothing special about me at all, except for I like to smile a lot and I'm very hard at what I do. I take boxing very seriously. I don't like fighters getting hit because I didn't like to get hit. Um, I don't like fighters trading. Um, I just want fighters to be smart. I want them to be smarter than what I was. So I try to give them the knowledge that I was told, the things I was told, how I was told it, and for them to try to make their own path, but at the same time understand where I'm coming from with them. Um, you have some fighters that do that. I have some guys that I constantly have to be on all the time, but I think that's what makes my job great because I seen my dad do it with me my whole career. I mean, from my dad had me from the age of 5 to 24. But the great thing about that is that I have my dad with me now. I manage a heavyweight by the name of Dominique Mayfield, and my dad actually trains him. So all the things that I see my dad do me and how he trained me, I see him invest that into Dominique, and it's just amazing to sit back. My dad is 76, and for him to still do the things that he's doing now that he did with me when I was 5 and 6, it's great, man. It's amazing. So I just try to keep my eye on my dad, emulate my dad, listen to the things that he teaching my fighter and the fighters in the gym. Not just my fighter, because my dad have other guys that he talked to, he trained, and he helped me with. So that's a good thing. So like I said, I think I'm blessed, man. I still got my dad. He's with me every day. I'm training fighters. I still know other people like Bozy Ennis, who trains Jerron Ennis. That's his dad. He's right around the corner from me at his gym. I've known Bozy since I was his son age, 5 or 6. He watched me grow up. So, boxing is something that I think is great for a human being, far as man and woman, to have in their life. It ain't about just boxing. It ain't about trying to make money. Nowadays, with all the killing and stuff going on in the world, I think it's just about protecting yourself, being able to know how to protect yourself when it comes to fighting. Of course, nowadays it's about the guns and stuff. Like I always told my dad, I wish I came up in his era, because back then, they actually fought. They got out and they handled their beefs out in the street. As far as with these, not these, So I just try to do what I can, take. That's all.
Now, before we wrap it up, I just want to know, like, who are you kind of watching today? Are you paying a lot of attention to the boxers today?
Yeah, I'm paying attention to them. I pay attention to a lot of them. Are you asking me? And you probably are. And if you're not, I'm gonna put you on blast. But are you asking me who's my best fighter nowadays? Do you want me to give you my top 3 in no order
No,
category?
not
Um,
necessarily. Just maybe
okay.
someone that comes to mind that you think is good, or
I
'cause
got
everyone has
3.
their
I
different,
got
you know,
huh?
everyone has their different, preferences. I want to know
Right.
kind of who you think or who you're paying attention to because you think they're good, you know.
Well, I'm of course. I can't go down to every weight because I'm not really sure about everybody's weight. But I'm gonna go. I'm gonna give you. I'm gonna give you 4, maybe 5. I'm gonna give you 4 to maybe 5 guys that I'm watching, and these guys that I'm watching that are definitely in this order, and they're in this order because this is my pick, but other people may think different. 1, Jerron Ennis. I think Jerron Ennis is so talented that is just crazy. Like, I just said to you a few minutes ago, his dad, Bozy Ennis, knew me since I was a kid. And it's crazy now. I'm older. I know his son Jerron since he was a kid. Since he stepped in the gym back when he was like 5 or 6, running around the ring, getting in the ring in between rounds, shadow boxing and all that type stuff. So I mean, people probably gonna say no, but yeah, I got Jerron Ennis as my number 1 guy. Number 2, I'm gonna go with Bud Crawford. Number 3, I'm gonna go with Tank Davis. I got to go with Canelo. 4.
Yeah, I love
Uh,
that. Kind of reminds me of maybe some of the guys that fought on HBO. He's willing to take a risk to get the knockout. He wants the knockout. He's going to put
yeah,
himself in harm's way to get it.
yeah, and then sometimes that that's not a good
Yeah.
situation. simple harm situation, but it is what it is. Um, I want to say the heavyweight division, but I really don't have nobody. I mean, I like the Cuban guy from Cuba, King Kong. I really like him. Um, that's basically it. But I am necessarily watching a lot of boxing, and I have to because of the simple fact I'm in it so deep. I need to know these guys. I need to know these coaches. You know, um, I'm certified by USA Boxing, so I do a lot of amateur boxing. So my amateurs are moving. They're starting to progress and get better. So I need to start putting them in position to like go out to nationals, go out to a show that may be in Maryland, go out to a show that may be in Ohio, things of that nature because um, I think recognition when it comes to boxing is everything. You know, if you don't know a guy in the boxing world, how can you call yourself a boxer? Or how can you call yourself a trainer? You have to know, like coming up when I was coming up, everybody know who Mighty Mouse was. Everybody know who Mark Johnson was. Everybody know who Chris Bird was. Everybody know who Eric Griffin was, or Paul Vaden, or Bernard Hopkins. We knew these guys because we was in it so deep. So that's just how it should be nowadays. Um, am I a fan of YouTube walk on fighters? No, not really. But it makes money. It keeps the flow of boxing. The only thing is that I feel some type of way about is how do you get a guy like what is it, Gene Paul or Paul Gene, whatever, come along and make all this money when I got a guy like a kid like Nafair Charles who's undefeated, knocking on the door to some big and great things in his years to come. He's only 21. You know what I'm saying? That you got a guy, Gene Paul, he what, in his mid-20s, and he making all this money? Ah, I don't like it, but boxing is what it is, and I love boxing, so that's what I do.
Now, is there anything you want to leave the interview on, or people that watch this maybe you want them to know, or just something you think is important?
Boxing ain't a game. Boxing is real. If you're going to be a boxer or an athlete, period, not just boxing, but if you're going to be an athlete, period, baseball, football, boxing, hockey, golf player, whatever, give it 100%. There's no cakewalk in boxing. There's no cakewalk in anything. The worst team in the world that you think that you should beat, you can lose to. The worst boxer in the world that you think you should lose to takes one shot. That's all it takes. You get caught, it's a wrap. So I would love for everybody to, if you're gonna do boxing really, really, really well. Give it 100, not 85%, not 99%. You got to give boxing 105 to 150%. And just stay true to the game. Well, my fault. I don't like to say game when it comes to boxing. Stay true to the sport. That's it.
My friend was asking, do you watch any mixed martial arts or UFC fights? He's just curious if you do.
Nah. Yeah, you probably can tell that. Nah, I don't. I don't. I'm not. It's just I always said I'm crazy because why? First of all, I'm crazy. Excuse my expression. I'm crazy as hell to get hit with some 8-ounce gloves upside my head. Why would I want to get hit upside my head with some 4-ounce gloves? Get kneed in my jaw or get hit upside my head with a foot. It's already I'm crazy to be a boxer, so no, I wouldn't want to be no MMA fighter or whatever.
But do you watch any of it?
Nah, I don't watch any of it.
Well, there
Should
you go. he
Should
was
I?
asking here in the comments if you did. You
Okay,
know.
but I'm asking you, should I?
No, I don't know. We watch a lot of it. I guess my
Okay,
dad. I used to watch like the old kung fu movies. Like
right.
you see a Wu-Tang Clan talking about and stuff. Like I used to watch that stuff when I was young. Like guys flying around in the air and doing all sorts of weird stuff. The overdub movies. And I used to watch
Definitely.
that a lot. So when those first UFCs came out and you had guys like these style versus style, I found it really interesting. I was still watching boxing, obviously. You know, I liked all
Right.
forms of combat, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you find it interesting or not. Everyone's got, like I said before, everyone's got kind of their preferences.
Right. I don't. Like I said, it's bad enough that I'm crazy to get hit with uh some 8 ounce gloves inside my head. I couldn't imagine myself trying to slip an elbow or slip a kick or block a knee. And then on top of that, I don't know what my jaw would feel like getting hit with some 4 ounce. Well, not even 4 ounce, getting hit with knuckles. It's bad enough. I gotta get hit with 8 ounce gloves on the head. I mean on the chin, and I gotta make sure I can take that. So for me to get hit with some 4 ounce gloves, and you talking about 5 minutes a round, and you talking about how many rounds?
Usually 3 to 5.
That's a lot. It's to the point now in Philly, we doing 4 minute rounds in the gym with 30-second break. I ain't doing it, but the fighters nowadays are. So I'm trying to figure out how you get accustomed to that. So you know what
Well,
you think about boxing?
I really appreciate you taking time to do this. I could talk to you forever, but I don't want to take up all your time.
No, I'm good. I'm relaxing. I'm okay. I don't mind talking to you. I don't do a lot of talking, so
Yeah.
I'm good.
I did want to ask you, what was it like fighting Julio Cesar Chavez? I mean,
Um, you know, uh, first of all, like I said, at the end of the day, I think I'm one of the luckiest guys in the world to be able to talk to you, be able to still count money, be able to still hold conversations with you and anybody in the world. Um, because you know as well as I do, a lot of fighters don't turn out to be no. A lot of fighters don't turn out to have all their faculties, as my dad would say. I think I was blessed, so I'm good in that behalf. As far as Julio Cesar Chavez, um, it was just amazing to be in the ring with a guy, a legend. I mean, when I fought Julio Cesar Chavez, it was crazy. I think he was like 107 with like 3 losses, with like 89 knockouts. Can you imagine you across the ring from a legend like that? That you actually getting ready to go up and fight a guy like that? Um, as I looked at the tape, and I don't think I only looked at the tape maybe twice. It was amazing to be in there with him. I think I was more shell shocked on being in the ring with him than actually knowing that I was in a fight with him. Because I was told on many occasions, I also was told in my corner, because I had my dad with me, that I was just giving him too much respect. I didn't go in there with the attitude on like, he's a normal guy like me. Go in there and fight like you know how to fight and do the things you know how to do. I didn't do because I seen in some rounds in the fight, as they say, I fought in spurts, and if I would have fought in spurts more like I fought when I was younger, I think the fight would have been different. But at the end of the day, I got the respect from him that I deserve, and I think that's what it was all about because, you know, they told him, and I was also told that he was going, even though he was older and I was older, he was a lot older than me, but I was told that he was going to mop me up with the ring. Ain't nobody knocking me out, so I wasn't even worried about that. But it was just on the simple fact that I didn't give my all like I should have. Um, he still could punch, even though he was an older guy. He still could punch, and he still had that antagonist style where he didn't care. He didn't care about getting hit. He was just worrying about landing. And I didn't give him too many opportunities to land. But, it was a great fight.
So you think the mental part of it, you were just kind of off because of who you were fighting?
Yeah, and then my camp didn't really go too well because I was in camp with I went to Don Turner's camp and I got into a fight. I mean, well, not really a fight, but I got into it was that we was in North Carolina. Um and I think the camp had like a 4 to 5 bedroom apartment, and there was some other guys in there. It was up and young coming fighters, and me and one of the guys had a big disputation in the camp, and it was like we was like our first or second day there, but it was like 2 days before we was gonna spar, and me and the guy got into it real bad. They had to separate us, and it was crazy. We was the first two to box, and we went in there. And we sparring, and I was actually honestly I was beating the brakes off this kid. I mean, he was from some little country overseas or something, but he was one of their best. I mean, I was beating the hell out of this kid. I was beating him so bad that I started playing with him, started smiling at him and taunting him and stuff. And I'll never forget. I went back to the corner, and my dad got mad at me. My dad was like, "Yo, stop playing. Just go out there and do what you know how to do. Stop teaching this guy and making faces and all that. Just go out there and box and do what you do, and let's go." Well, of course I didn't listen. I went out there again, started taunting and all that, and he hit me with a right hand, and my mouth was open, and it split the bottom of my gums. And it was one of two things was gonna happen. One, I was gonna get sent home, or two, I was gonna be in camp for the next, I think, 3.5 weeks. Because they told me my gum would heal, well, my chin, because I had a split right here. They told me it would heal, but I couldn't box, and I was gonna go right into the Chavez fight. Well, I was older, and I was pretty much on the. I was already. I ain't gonna say on the downside. I was at the bottom, and my thing was, do I want to go out here and fight this Mexican, this national hero, or do I want to go home and just call it quits? Well, like I said, I'm from Philly. I decided to go ahead and do the 3 weeks of training, get down and weight, which I did. But the thing of it was, I didn't have no boxing, and I went right into the Chavez fight. And you can see that I was kind of flat to some degree in that fight. That was because of the boxing. I didn't box for 3 weeks, and I went to the fight. Um, I wasn't nervous because I felt as though that I still had the tools and ability to do the things I needed to do. I looked at it at one, Chavez was a lot older. Two, the only way he was really going to connect on me is if I sat in front of him. Well, you know, your eyes can play tricks on you as well as your feet. And even though I did a lot of running, I did a lot of cardio, I did a lot of bag work, that stuff didn't help because even though I know Chavez was older, he seemed a lot quicker because I didn't get no boxing. So the things that he was throwing at me, I got out the way of some of them, but I didn't get out the way of all of them. I put up a good fight, but if I was able to just turn it up a little more, I think I would have made the fight very more interesting. But at that time, me being older, my mind played tricks on me. I thought that I would probably die in the fight if I tried to turn it up. If I tried to be the old Ivan Robinson, it wasn't going to happen. I was just going to die out. Uh, all kinds of things was going to happen. So But me being who I was, I still had that fighter instinct in me. So at times in certain rounds, certain positions or certain moves I made, the old Ivan Robinson came back for a hot minute. I think in the fourth round, um, I watched a lot of Chavez tapes, and one of the fights that I watched mostly was the Melchizedek fight. And what kind of made me annoying was that I had got a lot of emails, a lot of fan mail, and a lot of people calling me talking about Ivan, go out there and get this one for Meldrick. Meldrick and Chavez fought down there a century ago. Why am I thinking about Meldrick fight? Nah, I'm cool. I'm thinking about Ivan and Chavez, not Meldrick. So like I said, we watched the Chavez fight, and one thing that I noticed about Chavez was that he had a great left hook, and he would double from the body to the head. And one thing that I was noticing, because my dad also, one thing that me and my dad did, we watched a lot of tapes of Chavez, and we watched a lot of tapes of myself in my younger days, and maybe like 2 or 3 fights before that. And one thing that I did notice, my dad, he kept telling me every day, all day, don't pull out with this guy and drop your hands, because he has a sneaky left hook and a right hand. I didn't know I was doing it. I guess Chavez was like, look, I'm going to let this dummy keep doing it. Just let him keep doing it, let him keep doing it, let him keep doing it. And then finally, I guess he decided, you know what? This kid doing it so much, let me catch him. And he caught me, and I was off balance, and I went down. But it wasn't nothing that was too devastating on me to worry about, because I popped right back up. And I popped right back up, and, we went at it again for, I think, another 4.5, 5 rounds. Like I said, if I would have stepped on the gas, I think I would have made the fight a lot more easier than what I did. But hey, like I said, I was glad to be in there with one of the legends. But one thing I didn't like was that when we was leaving out, everybody was throwing cans and stuff at us. They had to shield us leaving out of that place.
Yeah, and now Canelo kind of has some of that similar aura to Chavez.
Yeah. Canelo's a great fighter, man. Right now, I guess you would say he's a face of boxing. He's
He
doing all
is.
the
I
right
like
things.
Tank more than Canelo personally, just because, like I said, he's a big risk taker, and
All right, so now I'm
it's
gonna put
going to be
you on the spot.
exciting when he fights.
All right, so now I'm gonna put you on the spot. If you had Canelo and uh Tank fighting on the same card, who would you go for? Who would you put your money on?
If they're fighting each
And
other,
no, hell no. They fight in 2 different fights.
yeah.
Who would you put your money on, and why? And are you looking for a knockout, or are you just looking for a win? And who's more exciting?
To me, Tank is more exciting, but I put
Okay.
my money on Canelo because he's not gonna. Tank hasn't made the mistake that's got him knocked out yet. You know.
Huh? You
You know
mean
what I
Tank
mean? I
hasn't made
think
a mistake?
Canelo is maybe a little more defensively
Oh,
responsible.
okay.
What do you
But
think?
ain't that's what fight? Not fighters, but ain't that's what the fans want to see? They want to see a guy who takes.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. I would put my money on Canelo. I'm not. I'm not interested in anybody taking chances. You have to sometimes in fights, but yeah, Tank takes too many chances. But he takes chances because he know he can take them. Ain't nobody. What threat has he? What threat of a fighter that he's fought where he ain't had to worry about taking a chance, or he thought about taking a chance? Regardless on what you do and how you do it, I don't care. Any fighter knows the reward of taking a risk. You're not gonna take a risk if you don't have to. Like for instance, like with me in the Getty fight, I took many a risk, but I knew the risk was going to be rewarding for myself because I was in the best shape. I actually can say that I actually, like when you're in school, it's just one kid in school that is just terrorized the whole school or the whole class, but you know that it's something that you can do to overcome him and be. That's how it was with me with the Gaddy fight. I knew taking a risk with him. I had to take a risk with him. But the thing of it is, I didn't mind because I was in such great shape. I knew my defense was great. As long as I didn't get kept caught with a shot that was gonna knock me into tomorrow, I was good. But I took that chance in the 10th round, and it just definitely almost put me in a situation. But that's what happened. Um, hey man, to this day, I thank Otero because if it wasn't for him, I probably wouldn't have as many people talking to me or giving me the credit that was needed to be given to me. And that's the way I think that's happening nowadays. Fighters are not willing to take the opportunity. And that's why I say I love Gaddy so much, because at any given time, Gaddy didn't care. He felt as though, even though me and you may think that he has no chance, you couldn't tell him that. You couldn't tell Gaddy he have a chance. That nigga like, what? What you mean? Like when I told him with the Mayweather jump, he like, what? I got a chance. And then you know what? It was to the point he had me thinking too, like, if he landed a shot, what may happen?
Yeah.
You know?
Do you remember where you were when you heard he passed?
Home, mad as hell. Because Gaddy was a wild dude. Gaddy was like I said, he was the fighter that put it all on the line, no matter what. You have fighters nowadays say, "Oh man, I'll die in that ring." Nah, that ain't happening. But when Gaddy said it, you believe it. Gaddy would die in that ring first before anything. I'm a Philly fighter. I don't back down from nobody. But honestly, saying I'm gonna put my life on the line, I don't know, homie. That's some kind of serious stuff there. But Gaddy was that dude. So I knew to a fact that when they said he had passed, when I found out he passed, I was hurt. It hit me, boom. But now I'm sitting there thinking, like, why did he die? What was the reason that he died? Excuse me. When I found out that how he died and the reason he died, we wasn't the best of friends, but we were friends. I knew Gaddy liked to party. I knew Gaddy liked to drink. I'm not one of the guys that listen to tabloids and all that. I hear it, but I actually gotta know for a fact. Like if you say Joe Blow over here take dope or he get high off of coke or whatever, that's what you're telling me. But I actually need to know that's what he does. And everybody always say boxers are brutal, boxers are rough. They label some fighters as woman beaters. They say fighters take drugs, all that. And some do, some don't. With me coming up, I'm from the city of Philly, and our streets are rough. And a lot of our great fighters in the city of Philadelphia, yeah, a lot of them use drugs, a lot of them got high, stuff like that. But I had to actually know that that's what they did. So when I found out Gaddy died, it was like, how did this man die? I mean, I heard he snorted and this, that, and other. but that was my buddy. I mean, we was cool. I know Gaddy drunk real heavy, and I know when he drunk, he was like that 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 hard guy. He did things. He even started fights to some point. He even knocked a couple guys out, stuff like that. But for him to be the way they say he was with his wife, nah. For them to say his wife killed him, I still say to this day she killed him. I don't understand why, for what reason, regardless on what things he did in the past or how he was. That man didn't deserve that. You know what I'm saying? That man didn't deserve that at all. He was a great dude. He would give you his shirt off his back. He talked to everyone. You know what I'm saying? Of course, I didn't really much like his style because he took punches, but he was entertaining. He was very entertaining. And to be honest with you, regardless on how he lost, you put your money on him. He was one of those guys that you will for sure put your money on. And I mean, when I fought him the first time, and I think we fought at the convention center. Yeah, the first fight was at the convention center. Gaddy and our fight was so enormous where, I mean, we had so many people, and I know a lot of people wasn't there for me. I know they was there for him, but to be in that magnitude with that gentleman, with that guy, with that brother of mine that I fought and I beat, just to be in that magnitude that he bought in that surrounding just that one night, it was crazy. I mean, I seen people that I've seen on TV that I didn't actually think that I would actually be in the in presence with. Like, for instance, back then when me and Gaddy fought, I think Philly had one of the hottest teams in the city. I went to school with Aaron McKee, and me and Aaron McKee was friends since high school. And Aaron McKee and Allen Iverson was the best of friends. Allen Iverson came to my fight. I don't know Allen Iverson from a can of spray paint, but him and Aaron McKee was best of friends. And Aaron McKee brought Allen Iverson to my fight in Atlantic City. And Aaron used to come to all my fights in Philly. I think he came to the fight when I fought Philip Holiday. Me and Aaron was like this. He brought AI to the fight. At that time, Jason Williams was the hottest center in the league, and he was from Jersey. He came to see Gaddy, but me and him intertwined with each other. Me and him became good friends. You know, a lot of the Italian guys that came to see Gaddy, you know, even though they was mad because I beat Gaddy, but after the fight, me and Gaddy had drinks together. We gambled together. I met these guys, and then we turned around 4 hours after that. I'm sitting at my bedroom table in my bedroom, get ready to sign another fight to fight Arturo again. So, you know, the magnitude that Gaddy had was great, man. But for him to go out the way he went, he shouldn't have never went out that way. You know, people that know him closer than I knew him didn't understand why he got married to that young lady. Or maybe, of course, because of the baby. You know, and it's crazy. I was just on Instagram the other day. I know you know boxing pretty well. You remember heavyweight Fresno Aquino from Florida? He trains Arturo Gatti's son. And I think Arturo Gatti's son is about 10 or 11. And he fight just like Arturo. And it was crazy. Like 2 years ago, I got a DM from a kid named Gaddy. And I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, what is this? And he was like, I like your style. I like how you fight. And he's like, most of all, I like the performance that you put on with my dad. I'm sitting there looking at this like, what's going on? And he like, I know you don't know who I am, but I'm Arturo Gatti's son. I'm like, huh? He like, yeah, I'm Arturo Gatti's son. And I know you and my dad were good friends. I just wanted to reach out to you and tell you that I'm boxing. it was crazy. I'm sitting there saying to myself, like, is this a ghost? And now, a week or two ago, I get another inbox on Aquino's Instagram page, because me and him friends. I see him training this kid. I'm looking. And he put in the comments, he's like, this is Arturo Gatti's son. I'm like, wow. So, maybe this is a reincarnation of Arturo.
It's almost like your Creed, like when Rocky Balboa's training Apollo Creed's son.
Yeah, well,
you guys are,
I won't be the one. I won't be the one training Arturo.
Huh?
I won't be training Arturo Jr.
Oh, I know, but you guys are attached forever, and his family attached to you to some degree,
Yeah, true. That's true.
So it don't surprise me that he reached out to you. It's kind of almost the same thing, Rocky and
true.
Apollo Creed had these great fights, and his son was drawn to Rocky,
That's true. You know what? Now I never even, because I mean, when you get something like that, that's kind of like mind blowing, but at the same time, you're sitting there thinking like, no, this can't be true, And now that I'm thinking about it, I'm not even gonna go back on Fred's Instagram page and look at it again. If it happens again, then I may decide to really reach out and see what's going on. But right now, I'm just, I'm mind blowing. I'm gonna just let it ride, see what happens. But I know I'll be shocked if he come on TV and I see him.
Yeah, it probably will happen again. I'd be surprised it didn't, Because when you lose your father,
when it happened, you be the first person I call.
Like when I lost my father a few years ago, and you get close to people that were close to your father,
right.
'cause you want that connection that you lost. You want your father, and that's probably why they reached out to you.
But you know what? I wouldn't. I mean, what can I say?
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know what to say.
I don't know. Same thing as telling me, that you respected him and you guys are good friends and all that. You had two wars with this guy. Well, the second one wasn't much a war. You won that one more easy, but you had two great fights with this guy, and your fights. Arturo had a lot of exciting fights, but I think yours was the one that's most remembered that he had. The first one especially.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And yeah, like I said, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. It's awesome to talk to you. I think you should do stuff on Instagram. Give your opinion on some of these fights or something.
Say that again?
I think you should do some stuff on Instagram, like some of these videos like Kelly Pavlik does, where he talks about some of the fights he's seen, or, take some questions.
It might be right. It might be something I'm thinking about doing.
Yeah, maybe just like some short video, talk about a fight you saw or whatever.
Okay.
Kelly Pavlik does that a lot.
Do he?
Yeah, he does. All the time.
He was just inducted into the New Jersey Boxing Hall of Fame with me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you could, like I said, I love talking to people from back then when I was growing up. And I think it's important to keep these people around and also to get their insights.
Right.
It's valuable. It's invaluable, so. Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time to do this. Like I said.
No problem. Anytime you want, all you got to do is just call me.
Yeah, I feel really lucky to have this opportunity. So, yeah, I appreciate the time. I know I've taken up a lot of your time, but
I'm good.
Any other time you want to talk to me, I'd be super happy to do it. Yeah.
Okay, I got you.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Ivan, and I'll get all this stuff sent out to you.
Okay, no problem. Thanks.
All right. Take care. It was great talking to you.
All right, buddy. You too. Bye.